not a national champion.
I did. Alright, number 1. All we're doing is plugging in. And so, I'm going to move that out of the way. So, if you plug in 1 into G, you get out 7. If you plug 1 into H, you get out -1. And so, when I do G times H, 7 times -1, we get -7. Okay, so on this one, if you do it kind of the shortcut way, if you plug 4 into F, you get out 13. If you plug 4 into G, you get out 72. So when we do 13 minus 72, we get -59. But last period, somebody said I did this the long way. I took the first one and I subtracted the second one from it, which is totally fine. And when we do subtract, make sure you change all your signs and the expression that follows is subtraction. And then when you combine like terms, this is what you get. So here, if we were to plug in the 4, you'd get -64 plus 8 minus 3 is the same thing, -59. So either way you do it, if you do it correctly, you should get the same answer. Okay, so any questions about 3, 4, 5, or 6? I'll be happy to go over any of those, 3, 4, 5, or 6. All right. So let's take a look at 7 and 8. Now number 8, it was really hard to see. So if you worked a different problem, it was really hard to see.
There we go.
Yeah, this sum and this sum did not show up very well. I actually was working with someone yesterday and I missed this problem because I couldn't read the sum or the difference.
Why did pronounce so weird?
Okay, honestly what happened is when somebody did this worksheet, instead of typing in the problems, they snipped them. And when you paste a snip, it looks good when you look at it, but it does not print well.
T for T.
And so if any of you guys ever use a snipping tool, please know that. It'll look good on your screen, but it will not print well. So if you're submitting something digitally, it's fine. But if you have to print it to submit it, you might want to retype.
Could you actually go over number 4?
Sure. Okay, so first of all, did you have a plus sign right here?
Yes.
Okay, so when we do 3, when we plug in 3, we get 9 plus 2 is 11. And then when we plug in 3, we get 6 minus 4 is 2. So if we do G over F, 11 over 2, 11 halves or 5.5. You may write your answer in either form because this is a terminating decimal. If a fraction terminates, you certainly may write it as a decimal. All right, let's take a look at 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm going to start by going over number 9 with you because this is the first one that we're not actually evaluating for a given value. We're just performing an operation with a function. So there's nothing to plug in. So we take function g, -x² minus 1 minus 2x, and we subtract from that function f. And when we subtract, we need to make sure that we distribute the negative. So to distribute the negative, it would change all these signs. Then we would add like terms. So we only have the 1, that x², so it's a -x². We have a -2x and a -x makes -3x. And then we have -1 and -5 results in -6. So g minus f of x is -x² minus 3x minus 6. All right, here we're dividing them. So let's talk about division. With division, the easy part is just setting it up. F over G, F over G. So we're good. But then there's also an extra step. When it is just X, when we are not plugging in a value, we have to be careful because the denominator cannot equal 0. If it does, this function will be undefined. So we say, all right, this denominator cannot be 0. And I took that denominator, x² minus x, and I factored out the GCF. So if I plugged in this 0 0 here, the product would be 0. So x cannot be 0. And if I plugged in 1 here, this would be 0, which would make the product 0. So what you're doing is saying x cannot be 0. Remember how we broke them apart? And we would add 1. So x cannot be 0 and x cannot be 1. Because those are the two values for x that would make this function undefined. Because they would cause the denominator to be 0. And dividing by 0 is not defined. So anytime we have a fraction, we have to look at our denominator and see if there are values for the variable that would make it equal 0. Because those values are restricted. Yes, ma'am.
So the denominator, would you mind if we factor it out as the denominator, or do you want us to keep it together like x squared minus x?
For the answer, go ahead and leave it like this.
On the quiz, would that be like setting it up? We got 1 point and the answer would be like 1 point.
You would get points for this, and you would get points for that. That's right, Sandy. Okay. All right, here's 13, 14, 15, and 16. Now on 15, I showed you how you get your restriction. On 16, I really didn't expect you to quite get this one, but we have solved these, so it's okay if you didn't get it last night. But think about cubics. We know how to solve a cubic. If I move the cube part over, it becomes positive, and then I just take the cubed root of both sides.
So whatever you're able to take out of it to simplify it, that would be what it would be.
That would be a restriction also.
Okay. Also?
If you can give you somebody, good.
I'll flip back in just a second to that other one. Like I was able to factor out the x, so 0 was a restriction.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Don't laugh at him, just help him, buddy.
Now you got bigger pencil too.
It's highly frustrating. I've broken a rib before, and I couldn't even shut my car door.
Oh no, I know.
I mean,
This summer I had surgery on my knee and I couldn't even sit in the car. I had to sit in the back seat of my friend's car.
yeah, it's highly annoying.
I was sweat everywhere because I had to use crutches and like it was hot. And
I'm glad I wasn't around you this summer.
Yeah. It was not fun. I sweated in the mall because we went to the mall one time and I had to get a wheelchair because I just started sweating so much. Yeah, I had to use my crutches. They were walking so fast.
I had my fractured rib at spring football, and I played under my hand with a fractured rib. I thought I just had severe bruises.
I tried my best. I couldn't get my
It was down there. I came to then I took my exams, and then yeah, it was crazy.
Is there a negative in front of the cube root for 16?
There is. There's a negative right here because we can think of -3 as -1 times 3. And so the cube root of -1 is -1. So we can actually, anytime we're taking a root of an odd root of a negative, you can factor the negative part out. Simplify, not factor. Okay, any other questions about the homework? Okay. As soon as I see that everyone's done making corrections, we're going to start on today's notes. Today's notes are about composition. Alright, so we're going to go back and look at some of our functions from yesterday. F of x, g of x, h of x, and k of x. These were the first 4 operations. So our operations were addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Those were the operations we performed yesterday. But today we're actually going to look at substituting one function into another, and that is composition. Now, some of you may be familiar with spreadsheets. Have you ever worked with Excel or Google Sheets or any type of spreadsheet? All right, when you're working with a spreadsheet, have you ever entered a formula that says something like equals cell A2 divide by 100? Have you ever created a formula where you took information from one cell and plugged it in? Well, that's what composition does. It kind of works like that plugging in function when you're using a spreadsheet. So what we're doing is we're just taking one function and plugging it inside another function to make a new function. So we have two different ways we can denote composition. This is f of g of x, and this is f of g of x. So this little open circle means composition. Or if we have the nested function, a function inside another function, that also means composition. Now, some of the textbooks really like this form. Those of you that plan to keep continuing in higher level mathematics will probably see this form more often. But the way we would say it is f of g of x. Occasionally it's read the composition of f with g of x. Alright, this tells us what to do to substitute the function g into the function f. So either way, g goes into f. G goes into f. It tells us that function g is being plugged into f. Function g is being plugged into f. So in our example, f of g of x or f of g of x, the function f and the function g is this. So what we're going to do is take g and plug it into f. So the big picture idea, whenever you're doing composition, you take the function that you're plugging into, and any place there was an x, you put a big set of parentheses. Any place you find an x. Because that's where this other function has to get plugged into. So here we have 2 times x, so we have 2 times big parentheses. And in those big parentheses is where I'm going to plug in g. And you see it was done right here. G is x squared minus 9. So it becomes 2 times x squared minus 9. So that x squared minus 9, that g of x, is going to replace the x. And then we just simplify. So we're going to distribute the 2, and that gives us 2x squared minus 18. And then we're going to add like terms. And the negative 18 and the negative 1 results in, let me rewrite this, f of g of x being equivalent to 2x squared minus 19. Okay, so in this one, h gets plugged into f. H gets plugged into f. Either way it's written. So we're going to start with f. Where the x was, we're going to put in big parentheses. And what gets plugged into f? H does. So we put in x squared minus 3x minus 10. Because h is being plugged into f. And then we just simplify. So this gives me 2x squared minus 6x minus 20. Very good. So f of h of x, the composition of f with h of x is 2x squared minus 6x minus 21. Yes, sir.
You have to write that step, like the part where we just, can we just go straight to 21?
Oh, sure. Yeah. All right, so this has us plugging F into G. F into G. So I'm going to write G, but where the X was, I put in a big set of parentheses. And then what gets plugged in there? 2x minus 1. Now, when we square a binomial, you might want to write it out twice and square it, unless you remember, square the first, double the product, square the last. That's right. So, if you need to write it out, that's totally fine. Whatever you need to do to get it right. That's the way I'd like you to go. Okay, so this is 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. So you square the first, you double the product, and you square the last term. So now we need to subtract 9 from that. So we get 4x squared minus 4x minus 8. Now, this would factor, but they're not asking me to factor. I have done everything I was asked to do. I did the composition of F into G. G of F of X. So even though it will factor, don't. That's not what they ask us to do this time. Okay, so I want you to try these 5, and as you try, I'm walking around the room. I'm walking around the room to answer questions, so you can quietly stop me, or some of you will loudly stop me.
Oh, you should plug in whatever it is, like F, you plug in for X. You see, 2x minus 1 plus 5. You don't even have to do anything to the first one, do you? 2x plus 4.
Ah.
Yeah, where did you get that from?
What's the answer? Number 1.
I got 3x plus 3. I got 2x plus 4.
Oh, that's it. It's 3x plus 3.
Yeah, you said 2x.
I don't know.
How do you get that?
Like,
First one
I
plus 5.
don't know if you take it from someone who doesn't know that well.
Plug in for right here.
Oh yeah, 2x plus and x.
Plug in 3x.
No, it's x.
Oh, we are stupid.
That X that you're plugging it into, we just figure it works fit.
I was trying to do it on the top. I was trying to plug it in that. That
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
That's what you plug in here.
I think that I don't know how
I did that. I did it yesterday
I was
too.
like, what's going on here?
like if you don't know this.
I can do that's why I was like,
Yeah. No, I like you're definitely not wrong.
And G?
don't have like it's very easy. It's a lot of for the better. Yeah. So it's just like that's what I really like I feel guilty for doing that. No,
It's like literally just
no, that's when you're like you're not that involved in the class right now. Like you got yourself into this. That's the thing that I'm working on.
X squared.
What's not doing
What's
right?
4
Away
cubed?
or something. Like,
16,
you would
64.
really like might be that mistake.
Minus 2?
You
know,
know,
You know
multiply
what I
like
mean?
x
So
squared
it's
plus
just
one
like
by itself.
it's a young
How is it a
situation.
race?
Like he needs help. He's reaching. I can't like really go myself.
Gotcha.
But that's what he wants. That's what he wants.
Minus 2. Yeah, 3x squared minus 10.
Like, I
Plus
need to
6.
help them. Like, fix this kid. It's just ultimately.
Where's the work on that?
I know you're in like a sticky situation. No, he doesn't.
Hey, minus 12
Oh, great.
It is covered with chocolate, and I see
So
lots of
never gets rid of it.
Hey, 100 calories?
And he's like, no,
Okay.
it's not.
Did you eat yesterday?
That's healthy.
It's not healthy. You didn't say healthy, Nate?
No. This is
Muffins.
It's a granola bar, Sammy.
Maybe some turkey and cheese?
I didn't like literally.
Is there anything in there that's not processed?
Are you done
But
with
his
this?
life is in shambles.
Miss Willoughby?
Or goldfish broccoli?
No, like his life is he's like it's his fault.
Yeah, okay.
Straight out of the front.
He's trying to, yeah.
He's not about
He
his
knows
fault.
that he's like,
Wheat is not
trying to figure out how to get out of it.
Your bread is definitely
Yeah, like trying to like I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. Show me your lunch, huh?
I don't even know.
I was
Gummy.
Yeah, I'm like I feel like it's it's really neat. Like this is something you can get out of. Like even like all the time. Yeah. And then when you like you just tell him he needs to change out.
Oh, what's deli turkey?
Like he needs to go for both.
Okay.
Honestly.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's go over these. Okay, so, and this one, G gets plugged into F. So F is x plus 5, so it's going to be big parentheses plus 5. On this one, H gets plugged into G. Well, G is 3x minus 2, so it's 3 big parentheses minus 2. On this one, K gets plugged into G. G is 3 big parentheses minus 2. On this one, G gets plugged into H. H is x squared, so it's big parentheses squared plus 4. On this one, F gets plugged into K. Well, K is x squared, so it's big parentheses squared plus 2x. 2 times big parentheses plus 1. So the first one is what everything gets plugged into. And then we plug it in. G gets plugged into F. So G is 3x minus 2. And then we simplify. And this simplifies to f of g of x is equivalent to 3x plus 3. Okay? H gets plugged into G. So we plug in H. X squared plus 4. So G of H of x, when I distribute this, I get 3x squared plus 12 minus 2 is 3x squared plus 10. Okay, on this one, K gets plugged into G. So K is x squared plus 2x plus 1. So I'm going to simplify. 3x squared plus 6x. You okay, buddy? Plus 3 minus 2. Okay? On this one, G gets plugged into H. So I need to plug G in here. G is 3x minus 2. So if you remember, square the first, double the product, square the last, you can go straight to this. So H of G of x is 9x squared minus 12x plus 8. Now this one, F, gets plugged into K. So x plus 5. X plus 5. That's what gets plugged in every place there was an x. So F gets plugged into K. And since we had two x's, we have two places that we have to plug in x plus 5. So on this one, we square the first, we double the product, we square the last. On this one, we distribute.
What do you mean by double the product?
You have to X.
The product of these two is positive 5x. And if I double that, I get positive 10x. And then, so we get x squared plus 12x. And then this is 35 plus 1 is 36. So, K of f of x is equal to x squared plus 12x plus 36. Okay. Any questions about these two tries? No. Alright, now we'll look at the easier ones. So these are our evaluating ones. Okay, so f of g of 2. Which function do you think we're going to plug the 2 into first? G. Which one is it closest to? G. Which one does it look like it's going plugged into? G. So when we do g of 2, if this is our function g, and I plug in 2, I get out 4. So now we take that value, 4, and it gets plugged into f. So when I do f of 4, my final answer is 9. So what that means is f of g of 2 equals 9.
So did you just multiply G by 2?
No, you
We plug 2 into g. Okay? So now we're going to start by plugging 3 into h. So we get 3 squared plus 4. What is 9 plus 4? 13. Now, h of 3 is equivalent to 13. So now what we do is g of 13. So g of 13 is 3 times 13 minus 2. 39 minus 2 is what? 37. So g of h of 3 is 37.
This is actually not that bad.
Good. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more, and let me know if you're still confused. Okay. Now this one is still composition. It's just the other form, but we still do this part first. K of -1. when I plug negative 1 into k, I get negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 plus 1. 1 minus 2 plus 1. That is 0. K of negative 1 is 0.
Okay.
So now what I do is G of 0. Whatever you get out here gets plugged in here. So G of 0 is negative 2. Good. So what that means is G of K of negative 1 is negative 2, because that answer is negative 2. Okay? You try 4 and 5. You try 4 and 5. If you're not sure what to do, please ask.
I think I got it.
Okay, try it.
Like it clicks on this
second one?
problem, like
Oh,
right
cool.
there when you do
Awesome.
that.
Awesome.
That's smart. That's good.
Nate, do you understand?
He's not even.
No, talking down the. Hey, come on. It's 416.
Do we have to show all that work whenever we plug in?
So is number. Can I just make sure I'm actually?
I can look. Yeah.
I was gonna say I can check with Chase. For number 4, I got it.
And what's 10 squared? 100. So
I'm right.
You, the problem is
68.
I think I got this.
Nice. I thought.
Did you get 121?
Careful.
Yeah, I was making sure I didn't. miss it.
That's what I.
How do you get your clothes on? Like
Probably just
I bet it was painful.
You guys hit 120 with the lead.
I got a payday before. I got 121 per five.
Because I couldn't get my knees get my
Okay.
shoes on.
Alright, so on this one we have to do G of negative 2 first. So negative 2 times 3 is negative 6, minus 2 is negative 8. So then we do H of negative 8. So negative 8 squared is positive 64, plus 4 more is 68. So H of G of negative 2 is 68. So the answer to number 4 is 68. Alright, let's do this one. F of 5. 5 plus 5 is 10. So now we have to do K of 10. 10 squared, 100. 2 times 10, 20, plus 1. 121. So K of F of 5 is 121. Okay, this is where your homework starts. Alright, and it tells you what to use for F and G. Follow your order of operations, and I'll answer any questions you have tomorrow.